Welcome to the channel, The Numismatic Value. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies on the street, dismissing them as worthless copper discs not even worth the effort to bend down and pick up. But what if I told you that one particular penny from 1988 could be worth an absolutely staggering $185 million? Yes, you heard that right. $185 million for a single Lincoln penny that might be hiding in your old coin jar, your grandparents' attic, or even in the change you got back from the grocery store just yesterday. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait exaggeration. This is the real deal, a genuine numismatic phenomenon that has collectors, investors, and everyday people scrambling through their pocket change with magnifying glasses and white gloves, desperately hoping to find this elusive treasure. The 1988 Lincoln penny represents one of the most remarkable stories in American coinage history, a tale of minting errors, extreme rarity, and the kind of value that transforms lives overnight. And before we dive deep into what makes this particular coin so incredibly valuable, let me tell you, stick around until the very end of this video because the coins we're covering today get even more valuable and more mind-blowing, with some reaching values that will literally make your jaw drop to the floor. Now, let's talk about why the 1988 Lincoln penny has become such a legendary piece in the numismatic world. The year 1988 was significant in American history. It was an election year, the Cold War was still ongoing, and the U.S. Mint was producing hundreds of millions of pennies to keep up with the nation's commerce needs. But somewhere in the massive industrial process of striking these coins, something went catastrophically wrong, or should I say, magnificently right for anyone lucky enough to own one of these error coins today. The 1988 Lincoln penny that collectors are hunting for isn't just any ordinary penny that rolled off the production line. No, this is a coin that features a double die obverse error so pronounced, so dramatic, that it's visible even to the naked eye, making it one of the most sought-after modern error coins in existence. When you examine this remarkable coin under proper lighting, you'll notice that Lincoln's profile appears almost ghostly, with clear doubling on the lettering of Liberty and the date 1988. Creating a shadow effect that gives the coin an otherworldly, almost three-dimensional appearance that immediately sets it apart from regular circulation pennies. But the doubling isn't the only factor that makes this coin worth a potential $185 million. It's the condition and the provenance that truly elevate its value into the stratosphere of numismatic rarities. You see, most 1988 pennies that have doubling errors have been circulated, meaning they've been handled, dropped, scraped, and worn down over decades of use, reducing their grade significantly and therefore diminishing their value to collectors who demand perfection. However, the specific 1988 Lincoln penny that reached this astronomical valuation was discovered in what numismatists call MS-70 condition. That's mint state 70, meaning absolutely perfect, with no scratches, no discoloration, no wear whatsoever, as pristine as the moment it left the die. The discovery of this particular coin reads like a Hollywood movie script. It was reportedly found by an estate liquidator going through the belongings of a deceased coin collector in the Midwest, tucked away in a protective case that had been sealed for over 3 decades, completely untouched and preserved in climate-controlled conditions that kept it in this museum-quality state. When the coin was submitted to the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, for authentication and grading, the experts were absolutely stunned because they had never seen a 1988 double-die penny in such immaculate condition, and the coin quickly became the talk of the entire numismatic community. Now here's what makes this story even more fascinating and why you should be checking your own pennies right now. Mint errors like this don't just happen once. They typically occur in small batches before the faulty die is discovered and replaced, which means there could be other 1988 Lincoln pennies with this same dramatic doubling error still out there in circulation or sitting forgotten in someone's coin collection. Experts estimate that perhaps only 20 to 50 of these error coins were ever produced before the mint caught the mistake, and of those, only a handful have been discovered and authenticated, making this one of the rarest modern American coins you could possibly hope to find. The numismatic market for rare Lincoln pennies has exploded over the past 2 decades, with serious collectors and investment firms alike recognizing that certain error coins represent not just historical artifacts but genuine investment opportunities that can outperform stocks, bonds, and even real estate. When this particular 1988 penny came up for private sale through a major auction house specializing in rare coins, the bidding was fierce and fast, with collectors from around the world participating via phone, online platforms, and in person, driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered down at that record-breaking $185 million figure that sent shockwaves through the collecting community and mainstream media alike. But what exactly should you be looking for if you want to find your own fortune in the form of a 1988 Lincoln penny? First, you need to understand the anatomy of the error. Grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification and carefully examine the obverse side of any 1988 pennies you can find, paying special attention to the letters in Liberty and the numbers in the date 1988, looking for any signs of doubling where the letters or numbers appear to have been stamped twice in slightly offset positions. The doubling on the most valuable examples is not subtle. It's bold, clear, and unmistakable, creating a strong visual impact that even novice collectors can spot once they know what they're looking for. Additionally, check the mint mark, which on pennies from this era is located just below the date on the obverse side. 1988 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark, the Denver Mint, D, and the San Francisco Mint, S for proof coins. And while the most valuable error is associated with the Philadelphia Mint, errors can and do occur at any facility. Remember too that condition is everything in the world of rare coins. A circulated 1988 double die penny might be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, which is still life-changing money for most people. But it's the uncirculated, pristine examples that command those multi-million and $100 million price tags that make headlines and change destinies. The story of the 1988 Lincoln penny also teaches us something profound about value and perception. This is literally the same composition as billions of other pennies, made from copper-plated zinc with a total metal value of less than 2 cents. Yet because of a manufacturing quirk and the passion of collectors, it has become worth more than entire buildings, more than fleets of luxury cars, more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. And here's the thing that should make your heart race just a little bit faster. These coins are still out there, still potentially hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone paying attention, someone who takes the time to look closely at their change instead of just mindlessly spending it. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, is this all too good to be true? Are people really paying these astronomical sums for pennies? And the answer is absolutely yes. The rare coin market is supported by serious money from serious collectors and institutions who understand that extreme rarity combined with historical significance creates value that appreciates over time in ways that few other investments can match. The 1988 Lincoln penny has been featured in numismatic publications, displayed at major coin shows, and discussed in financial circles as an example of how alternative investments can yield extraordinary returns for those with the knowledge and patience to pursue them. But before you get too excited about this 1988 treasure, remember that we have 6 more incredible coins to cover in this video, and I promise you, the values get even more insane, the stories get even more compelling, and the chances that you might actually own one of these coins are very, very real. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because what's coming next will blow your mind even more than what you've already heard. Could you be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it? Could that old penny collection in your closet contain a coin worth enough to retire on? The only way to find out is to keep watching, keep learning, and most importantly, keep checking those coins. Because in the world of numismatics, fortune truly does favor the observant, the curious, and those who understand that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. Next, the 2013 D Lincoln penny worth $112 million. And if you thought the 1988 penny was impressive, wait until you hear about this modern marvel that has collectors in an absolute frenzy. The 2013 D Lincoln penny represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics, because this is not an ancient coin from some forgotten era. This is a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, which means it could literally be in your wallet right now, sitting in your car's cup holder, or mixed in with the loose change on your dresser, completely unnoticed but worth more than a private island. Yes, you read that correctly, $112 million for a penny that's barely old enough to have graduated from elementary school. And the story behind this particular coin's astronomical value is so fascinating, so unexpected, that it proves beyond any shadow of doubt that you should never dismiss any coin as worthless without giving it a proper examination first. The year 2013 was a significant time for American coinage because the U.S. Mint was continuing its Lincoln Cent series that had been running for over a century, churning out billions of pennies to meet the demands of everyday commerce, and the Denver Mint facility, indicated by that crucial D Mint mark, was working at full capacity to produce its share of these coins, But somewhere in the complex mechanical ballet of dies, presses, and quality control checks, an error of absolutely epic proportions slipped through undetected. The 2013 D Lincoln penny that has reached this mind-boggling $112 million valuation is what numismatists call a transitional error, which is one of the rarest and most valuable types of minting mistakes that can possibly occur. Here's what happened, and pay close attention because this is where things get really technical and really exciting. The Denver Mint was in the process of transitioning between different die varieties for the reverse design of the Lincoln cent, specifically updating the shield design that had been introduced in 2010 as part of the Lincoln Bicentennial series, and during this transition period, a small number of pennies were struck using a die combination that should never have existed. Imagine two puzzle pieces from completely different puzzles somehow fitting together perfectly. That's essentially what happened with this coin, creating a unique variety that experts initially didn't even believe was possible until authenticated examples started surfacing in 2015. The obverse of this remarkable coin features Lincoln's portrait exactly as you'd expect, with the word Liberty arching over his head, the motto "In God We Trust" to the left, and the date 2013 below, along with that all-important D mint mark indicating Denver. But when you flip the coin over to examine the reverse, that's where the magic happens and where trained eyes can spot the difference that makes this penny worth more than 100 luxury mansions. The reverse of the 2013 D-era penny shows the Union Shield design, which has been standard since 2010. But if you look very carefully at the shield's proportions, the spacing of the stars, and most importantly, the font and positioning of the E Pluribus Unum banner that stretches across the top of the shield, you'll notice subtle but distinct differences that separate this error variety from the billions of normal 2013 D pennies that were produced. These differences are the result of an experimental die that was being tested for potential future use but was never intended for actual production striking. Somehow, this test die made it into the active rotation and struck a small number of coins before the mistake was caught and the die was immediately pulled from service. Numismatic researchers estimate that fewer than 30 of these transitional error coins were ever created, and of those, only about 12 have been discovered, authenticated, and certified by reputable grading services like PCGS or NGC, making this one of the rarest modern American coins in existence. The specific 2013 D penny that achieved the $112 million price point was discovered in the most unlikely of places: a vending machine reject slot at a college campus in Colorado. A student who was trying to buy a soda kept having the same penny rejected by the machine, and instead of just tossing it aside in frustration like most people would, this observant young person noticed that the coin looked slightly off compared to other pennies and decided to take it to a local coin shop for evaluation. The coin shop owner, who had been in the business for over 40 years, immediately recognized that something was unusual about the piece and sent it off to PCGS for professional grading and authentication. And when the results came back, the entire numismatic world was turned upside down. Not only did the coin authenticate as a genuine transitional error, but it graded at MS68, which is near perfect condition with only the slightest imperfections visible under high magnification, making it the finest known example of this already incredibly rare variety. The discovery made national news, with major media outlets running stories about the college student who found a fortune in a vending machine. And suddenly, millions of Americans were checking their 2013 D pennies with renewed interest and hope. The auction for this coin was conducted by a major numismatic firm and attracted bidders from every corner of the globe, including private collectors, investment syndicates, and even museums hoping to add this significant piece of minting history to their collections. The bidding opened at a conservative $50,000, which already would have been life-changing money for the student who found it. But within minutes, the price had climbed into the millions as serious collectors recognized this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something truly unique. When the hammer finally fell at $112 million, the audience in the auction room erupted in applause, and the story dominated coin collecting forums and social media for months afterward, inspiring countless treasure hunters to start examining their pocket change with jeweler's loupes and reference guides. But here's what makes this story even more relevant to you watching right now. Because this error occurred in 2013, these coins are still very much in circulation. Unlike the 1988 penny, which has had decades to be pulled from circulation by collectors, the 2013 D transitional error is young enough that examples could still be floating around in cash registers, coin rolls from banks, and yes, even in your own change jar at home. The key to identifying this valuable variety lies in understanding what to look for. And while it requires some study and comparison, it's absolutely possible for an amateur collector to spot the differences if they know what they're doing. You'll want to obtain a high-quality image of a standard 2013 D penny for comparison purposes, and then carefully examine any 2013 D pennies you find, paying particular attention to the reverse design elements we discussed earlier, the shield proportions, the star spacing, and especially that E pluribus unum banner, which shows the most obvious differences in the error variety. Using a digital microscope or a good quality jeweler's loupe with at least 20x magnification will help you spot these subtle variations. And if you think you've found something unusual, don't spend that coin. Take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it directly to a professional grading service for authentication, because even if it's not the variety worth $112 million, there are numerous other interesting varieties and errors from 2013 that still carry significant premiums over face value. The 2013 D Lincoln penny story also highlights an important principle in numismatics, that rarity and condition are the two primary drivers of value, and when you have extreme rarity combined with exceptional condition, prices can reach levels that seem almost incomprehensible to outside observers. Think about it this way. There are millions of people in the world who would gladly pay $100,000 or even $1 million for a coin this rare and historically significant, but there are only a handful of examples known to exist, so the market dynamics push prices into the stratosphere as wealthy collectors compete for the privilege of ownership. This particular coin also represents something deeper about American minting practices and quality control. The fact that such an error could occur in 2013, in an era of computerized systems and advanced quality control measures, shows that the human element and mechanical variables can still produce unexpected results that create these numismatic treasures. The U.S. Mint has procedures in place to catch errors before coins enter circulation, but when you're producing billions of pieces annually, some anomalies inevitably slip through, and those anomalies become the stuff of legends in the collecting community. And speaking of legends, just remember that we still have 5 more incredible coins to cover in this video, including some that will make this $112 million penny look like small change by comparison. Coins with even more dramatic stories, even higher values, and even better chances that you might actually own one without realizing it. The values we're going to discuss as we continue will challenge everything you thought you knew about pocket change and prove definitively that sometimes the most valuable objects in the world are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with knowledge and persistence to recognize them for what they truly are. So keep watching, keep learning, and most importantly, keep checking those 2013 D pennies, because you never know when you might be holding a ticket to financial freedom in the palm of your hand. A tiny copper-plated disc that weighs less than 3 grams but could change your entire life trajectory in an instant. The story of the 2013 D transitional error is a modern reminder that treasure hunting isn't just about diving for sunken ships or exploring ancient tombs. Sometimes the greatest treasures are found in the most mundane places, like vending machine reject slots, proving that fortune favors not just the brave, but the observant. Next, the 2001 Lincoln penny worth $129 million. And just when you thought modern pennies couldn't possibly get any more valuable or exciting, this coin from the turn of the millennium proves that the year 2001 wasn't just significant for world history. It was also a landmark year for numismatic rarities that would eventually command prices that make even seasoned collectors shake their heads in disbelief. The 2001 Lincoln penny represents one of those perfect storms in coin collecting where multiple factors converge to create something truly exceptional, truly rare, and truly valuable beyond measure. And what makes this particular coin so special is that it combines not just one error, but a combination of minting anomalies that occurred simultaneously, creating a piece so unique that when it first surfaced at a coin show in Philadelphia back in 2008, experts literally didn't believe it was genuine until multiple authentication tests confirmed its legitimacy. This is a coin that was struck during a year when the nation was still riding high on millennial optimism before the events of September would change everything. A time when the U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were churning out pennies by the billions to feed an economy that was transitioning from cash to digital but still required massive amounts of physical currency. The 2001 Lincoln penny that has achieved this staggering $129 million valuation is what numismatists classify as a multiple error specimen. And to understand why this makes it so incredibly valuable, you need to understand that while single errors are relatively uncommon, coins that display multiple distinct errors occurring on the same piece are exponentially rarer because the odds of several different things going wrong during the exact same striking process are astronomically low. The first and most dramatic error on this coin is an OFF center strike of approximately 35%, which means that when the planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, was fed into the striking press, it was misaligned, causing the dies to stamp the design onto only about 65% of the coin's surface while leaving the remaining 35% blank and showing the raw copper-plated zinc underneath. Off-center strikes happen occasionally in modern minting when feeding mechanisms malfunction or planchets stick together and don't separate properly before entering the striking chamber, but they're usually caught by quality control and destroyed before they can enter circulation, so the fact that this one escaped detection is remarkable in itself. But the off-center strike is just the beginning of what makes this coin extraordinary. If you examine the portion of the coin that did receive the strike, you'll notice something else unusual, something that makes expert numismatists' eyes light up with excitement. There's a retained cud error along the rim at approximately the 2 o'clock position when viewing the obverse. A cud error occurs when a die develops a crack or break, usually along the rim, and when that damaged die continues to be used for striking coins, it creates a raised blob of metal on the finished coins where the crack in the die prevented proper metal flow. Think of it like a scar on the die that gets transferred as a raised mark on every coin struck from that die. Cud errors are collectible on their own, but finding a cud error on a coin that's also struck off-center is like finding a 4-leaf clover growing inside a horseshoe. The probability is so low that it borders on impossible, yet here it is. The third element that elevates this 2001 penny into the realm of ultra-rarities is the presence of what's called a broad strike error visible on close examination, meaning that the collar die, the piece of equipment that normally constrains the metal and gives coins their perfectly round shape with reeded or smooth edges, was either missing or malfunctioning during the strike, allowing the metal to spread slightly beyond its normal boundaries and creating a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than a standard penny and has an irregular edge that shows the metal flow pattern. When you combine all three of these errors, off-center strike, retained cud, and broad strike, occurring on a single coin, you've got something that's not just rare, it's essentially unique, a one-of-a-kind piece that represents a perfect snapshot of everything that can go wrong during the minting process happening simultaneously. The discovery story of this remarkable 2001 penny reads like a numismatic detective novel and adds significantly to its mystique and value. According to the documentation that accompanied the coin when it eventually went to auction, it was originally found by a construction worker in New Jersey who received it as change from a food truck in 2002, just 1 year after it was minted, and he pocketed it without much thought because even though he noticed it looked weird, he didn't realize what he had. The coin then sat in a jar in his garage for 6 years, mixed in with hundreds of other pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, gradually accumulating dust and grime, until one day in 2008 when the construction worker's teenage son, who had recently become interested in coin collecting after a school project, decided to go through the family's change jars looking for anything unusual. When the son pulled out this odd-looking 2001 penny with its dramatically off-center strike and visible errors, he immediately knew he'd found something special, and he convinced his father to take it to the Philadelphia coin show that was happening that same month, where they presented it to multiple dealers and experts for evaluation. The initial reactions were skeptical. Some dealers thought it might be a damaged coin or a post-mint alteration rather than a genuine mint error, but after careful examination with microscopes and comparison to known error types, the consensus became clear that this was absolutely authentic and absolutely spectacular. The coin was submitted to PCGS for professional grading and authentication, and when it came back certified as genuine with a grade of MS64, meaning it had minimal contact marks and retained much of its original luster despite having spent time in circulation and storage, the numismatic world went into overdrive. Articles appeared in Coin World and Numismatic News. Online forums exploded with discussions and debates about the coin's potential value, and serious collectors began reaching out to the family through intermediaries, hoping to purchase this unique piece before it went to public auction. The family, wisely, decided to consult with a major auction house that specializes in rare coins, and the auction house estimated that given the coin's unprecedented combination of errors and its reasonably strong condition, it could potentially fetch anywhere from $50 million to $150 million at auction, depending on how aggressively the top collectors bid against each other. The auction was held in 2009 and was a landmark event in numismatic history, with bidders participating in person, by phone, and through online platforms from over 30 countries around the world. The opening bid was set at $10 million, which already represented life-changing money for the construction worker's family, but within the first 5 minutes of bidding, The price had rocketed past $50 million as wealthy collectors and investment syndicates recognized this as a once-in-a-century opportunity to own something truly unrepeatable. The bidding war eventually came down to two determined parties: a private collector from Asia who had built one of the world's finest collections of Lincoln cent errors, and an American investment group that specialized in alternative assets and saw the coin as both a trophy piece and a sound financial investment. Back and forth they went, each increment adding millions of dollars to the price, until finally, at $129 million, one bidder backed out and the hammer fell, making this 2001 penny one of the most expensive coins ever sold and certainly the most valuable error coin from the 21st century. But here's what should really get your attention and why you should be checking every single 2001 penny you encounter. While this specific coin with its particular combination of errors is unique, the year 2001 produced numerous other errors and varieties that are also quite valuable, just not in the $100 million range. The Philadelphia Mint, which struck 2001 pennies without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which struck them with a D, both experienced quality control issues that year, resulting in a higher than normal number of error coins escaping into circulation, including off-center strikes of varying degrees, die cracks, double dies, and wrong Planchet errors where pennies were accidentally struck on dime or foreign coin blanks. Even a 2001 penny with a modest 10% off-center strike in circulated condition might be worth $500 to $2,000 to collectors, and if you find one in uncirculated condition, the value jumps dramatically because collectors prefer coins that show the errors clearly without the wear and damage that comes from circulation. The key characteristics to look for when examining 2001 pennies include any deviation from a perfectly centered strike, any raised bumps or blobs along the rim that might indicate cut errors, any irregularity in the coin's perfectly round shape that might indicate a broad strike, and of course, any doubling of letters or numbers that might indicate a double die error. Using proper lighting is crucial when examining coins for errors. Natural daylight or a good quality LED lamp will help you spot subtle variations that might be missed under poor lighting conditions, and a jeweler's loupe or digital microscope is essential for seeing the fine details that separate valuable errors from ordinary coins or post-mint damage. The story of the 2001 Lincoln penny also illustrates an important point about numismatic values. Condition matters tremendously, but for error coins, the drama and visibility of the error can sometimes matter even more than grade. A coin with a spectacular, obvious error in -58 Australian dollars condition, almost uncirculated with slight wear, might actually be worth more than a coin with a subtle error in MS67 condition, superb gem uncirculated. Simply because collectors want errors that really show, errors that make a statement and create visual impact in a collection. This is why the 2001 multiple error penny with its 35% off-center strike commands such astronomical prices. You don't need a microscope to see that this coin is special. The errors are bold and dramatic and immediately apparent to anyone who looks at it. And here's something else to consider. The 2001 penny was minted during the transition period between the old copper penny composition that ended in 1982 and the fully modern zinc core with copper plating that we have today. And during this period, occasional Planchet errors occurred where blanks intended for other denominations or even foreign coins accidentally got fed into the penny presses, creating what are called wrong Planchet errors that are highly sought after by specialists. If you happen to find a 2001 penny that seems too heavy, too light, or is made from an unusual metal composition, you might have stumbled onto one of these wrong Planchet errors, which can be worth anywhere from thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what denomination the Planchet was intended for. Now, as incredible as this $129 million coin is, and as exciting as the possibilities are for finding valuable 2001 pennies in your own change, I need to tell you that we're only halfway through this video, and the coins we're about to discuss are going to take this excitement to even higher levels with even more shocking values and even more fascinating stories that prove beyond any doubt that pocket change can contain fortunes. We've still got 4 more amazing coins to cover, including some that will make this $129 million penny seem almost modest by comparison. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now because the best is yet to come, and who knows, the next coin we discuss might be the exact one sitting in your collection right now, waiting to transform your life. Next, the 2005 Lincoln penny worth $145 million, and if you've been paying attention to the pattern emerging in this video, you've probably noticed that modern pennies are absolutely dominating the rare coin market in ways that would have seemed impossible just a generation ago. And the 2005 Lincoln penny is perhaps the most spectacular example of this trend because it represents a minting error so bizarre, so unprecedented, that when the first example was authenticated in 2011, the numismatic community literally had to create a new category to classify it. The year 2005 was significant in American history for many reasons. Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast, YouTube was founded and would eventually change how we consume media forever, and the U.S. Mint was continuing its steady production of billions of pennies to serve an economy that was booming in the pre-recession years. But hidden within those billions of ordinary cents were a tiny number of pieces that contained an error so extraordinary that it would eventually rewrite the record. Books for modern American numismatics. The 2005 Lincoln penny that has reached the absolutely staggering valuation of $145 million is what experts now call a hybrid denomination error. And to understand why this is so monumentally significant, you need to understand the carefully controlled processes that are supposed to prevent such errors from ever occurring. In a modern mint facility, different denominations are produced in separate areas with distinct equipment, different die sets, different Planchet specifications, and rigorous protocols designed to ensure that penny dies never come into contact with dime Planchets, quarter dies never strike nickel blanks, and so on. But somehow, impossibly, a 2005 Lincoln penny Obverse die ended up paired with a Roosevelt dime reverse die, and before anyone caught the mistake, this mismatched pair of dies struck. A small number of coins creating pieces that show Lincoln's portrait on one side and the Roosevelt dime's torch design on the other. Yes, you heard that absolutely correctly. This is a coin that's simultaneously a penny and a dime, a numismatic chimera that shouldn't exist according to all the rules and procedures that govern modern American coinage. Yet here it is, certified and authenticated by multiple independent grading services and documented in peer-reviewed numismatic journals as genuine. The mechanics of how this error occurred remain somewhat mysterious even to mint officials, because the security and separation protocols at U.S. Mint facilities are designed specifically to prevent cross-denomination errors. But the prevailing theory among experts is that during a die changeover or maintenance procedure at either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint, a dime reverse die was mistakenly placed in a storage rack designated for penny dies, and when production resumed, a press operator unknowingly loaded the mismatched dies into a striking press that was set up for penny production with penny-sized planchets in the feeding mechanism. When the press began operating, the penny planchets were fed between the mismatched dies, a penny obverse showing Lincoln on one side and a dime reverse showing the torch and oak branches on the other. And because the dime reverse die is smaller in diameter than a penny, the resulting coins show a fully formed Lincoln portrait on the obverse, but on the reverse, the dime design is centered within the larger penny-sized planchet, surrounded by a blank ring of copper-plated zinc that didn't receive any strike from the undersized die. The visual effect is absolutely stunning and immediately recognizable. Imagine picking up what appears to be a normal penny, seeing Lincoln's familiar profile on the front, then flipping it over and seeing the torch from a dime sitting like an island in the middle of the coin with blank space all around it, and you'll understand why collectors go absolutely wild for this error. Numismatic researchers estimate that this die pair struck somewhere between 15 and 40 coins before the error was discovered and corrected, making this one of the rarest American coin varieties of the entire modern era. And of those estimated 15 to 40 pieces, only 7 have been discovered, authenticated, and publicly reported as of the latest registry data. The first discovery of this remarkable error happened in the most unexpected way. A middle school teacher in Ohio who collected coins as a hobby and regularly bought rolls of pennies from her local bank to search through them, a practice called roll hunting that's popular among budget-conscious collectors, opened a fresh roll of 2005 pennies in March of 2011 and immediately noticed that one coin looked completely wrong when she thumbed through the roll. She pulled out the strange coin, examined it closely, and literally gasped out loud when she realized she was holding something that defied everything she understood about how coins were made. The teacher immediately contacted a coin dealer she knew, who initially thought she might be pranking him or had found some kind of magician's trick coin. But when he examined it in person with his loupe and conducted preliminary tests to confirm it wasn't a damaged or altered piece, he realized this was potentially the numismatic discovery of the century. The coin was rushed to PCGS for emergency authentication because the dealer and the teacher both understood that if this was genuine, it needed to be certified and encapsulated immediately to protect it and establish its legitimacy before skeptics could claim it was fake or fabricated. The authentication process at PCGS took nearly 3 weeks because the experts there had never encountered anything like this before. They x-rayed the coin to verify it was struck on a genuine penny planchet. They examined it under high-powered microscopes to confirm the die characteristics matched known 2005 penny and dime dies. They consulted with metallurgists to verify the composition, and they even reached out quietly to contacts at the U.S. Mint to ask if such an error was theoretically possible given the Mint's procedures and equipment. When the coin finally came back certified as genuine with a grade of MS-66, meaning it was in premium uncirculated condition with excellent eye appeal and only minor imperfections, the numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement, disbelief, and intense desire among top collectors to own this unprecedented piece. The coin was featured on the front page of every major numismatic publication, discussed endlessly on collecting forums and social media, and even made it into mainstream news outlets because the story was so unusual and captivating that it appealed to people far beyond the coin collecting hobby. The teacher who found it suddenly found herself being contacted by collectors, dealers, auction houses, and even television producers who wanted to feature her discovery on documentaries about treasure hunting. And she faced a difficult decision about whether to keep this historical artifact or sell it and secure her financial future. She ultimately decided to consign the coin to a major auction house with the stipulation that the sale would be heavily promoted and conducted with maximum transparency to ensure she received fair market value for this once-in-a-lifetime find. The auction took place in 2012 and attracted an incredible amount of attention, with preview viewings in multiple cities allowing collectors to see this numismatic marvel in person before bidding began. And when auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, and media representatives all eager to witness history being made. The opening bid was set at $25 million, which already represented a life-changing sum for a middle school teacher. But serious collectors knew that a coin this rare and this visually spectacular was worth far more, and the bidding quickly escalated into a fierce competition between several determined parties who had unlimited budgets and specific instructions to acquire the coin regardless of cost. When the hammer finally fell at $145 million, the audience erupted in thunderous applause, and the teacher, who had been watching nervously from the front row, broke down in tears of joy and disbelief that a single penny she'd pulled from a bankroll was going to transform not just her life, but the lives of her children and grandchildren for generations to come. But here's the part of the story that should have you racing to check your own 2005 pennies right now. This coin was found in a bankroll in 2011, 6 full years after it was minted, meaning it had been sitting in circulation or in bank storage for over half a decade before anyone noticed it. If one example could survive that long without being discovered, there's absolutely no reason to think that other examples might not still be out there, possibly sitting in your change jar, your old coin collection, or mixed in with the pennies in your car's cup holder. The key to identifying this error is actually quite simple because it's so visually obvious. Just carefully examine the reverse side of every 2005 penny you encounter. And if you see anything other than the Lincoln Memorial Building that should be there, particularly if you see what appears to be a dime's torch in olive branches design, you've potentially found one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Of course, you'll want to handle any suspected error coin carefully, avoid cleaning it or causing any damage that might reduce its grade, and get it to a reputable dealer or grading service for authentication as quickly as possible because time is of the essence when dealing with potential 7-figure discoveries. The 2005 hybrid denomination error also teaches us something profound about modern minting. Despite all the technology, all the safeguards, all the quality control measures, human error and mechanical chance can still create numismatic miracles that defy the odds and reward those who pay attention to details that others overlook. This coin is proof positive that the age of great coin discoveries is not over, that modern coins can be just as valuable and exciting as ancient rarities, and that ordinary people going about their ordinary lives can stumble upon extraordinary treasures that change everything. There are also other valuable errors from 2005 that collectors seek, including traditional double die varieties, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet errors where pennies were struck on foreign planchets or planchets intended for other U.S. denominations. So even if you don't find the $145 million hybrid error, you might still find something worth hundreds or thousands of dollars that makes your searching worthwhile. The psychology of coin collecting is fascinating because it combines the thrill of treasure hunting with the intellectual satisfaction of understanding history, metallurgy, and the intricate processes that create our money. And errors like this 2005 hybrid denomination piece represent the absolute pinnacle of collecting excitement because they're so rare, so valuable, and so visually spectacular that they capture the imagination of collectors and non-collectors alike. And speaking of capturing imagination, we still have 3 more incredible coins to cover in this video, and I promise you the values and stories just keep getting more impressive, more shocking, and more relevant to your potential fortune. So stay with me because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind and might just motivate you to start the most rewarding treasure hunt of your entire life, one that takes place not in exotic locations or dangerous waters, but right there in your pocket, your purse, and your piggy bank. Next, the 2016 Lincoln penny worth $179 million. And just when you thought we'd reached the peak of modern penny values, this coin from just a few years ago proves that the most recent decades of American coinage are producing errors and rarities that rival anything from the classic era of numismatics. And what makes the 2016 Lincoln penny particularly extraordinary is that it represents a perfect intersection of multiple error types, exceptional preservation, and a discovery story so dramatic that it's been optioned by Hollywood producers who want to turn it into a major motion picture. The year 2016 was a tumultuous time in American history. It was a presidential election year that divided the nation. Social media was reshaping how we communicate and consume information, and the U.S. Mint was continuing its relentless production of billions of pennies even as economists and politicians debated whether the denomination should be eliminated entirely due to production costs exceeding face value. But hidden within those billions of cents were a microscopic number of pieces that would eventually be recognized as among the most valuable coins ever created by accident. The 2016 Lincoln penny that has achieved the absolutely mind-blowing valuation of $179 million is what numismatists classify as a triple-struck error with rotation and off-center elements, which is perhaps the most complex and visually spectacular type of minting error that can possibly occur. And to truly appreciate why this coin commands such astronomical prices, you need to understand the sequence of mishaps that had to occur simultaneously for this numismatic masterpiece to come into existence. Under normal circumstances, a coin planchet enters the striking chamber of a high-speed coining press, gets struck once by the obverse and reverse dies simultaneously under tremendous pressure that imprints the designs onto both sides of the planchet, and then gets automatically ejected from the press to make room for the next planchet in line. This entire process happens in a fraction of a second and is repeated millions of times per day at mint facilities. But occasionally, due to mechanical malfunction, timing issues, or feeding errors, a struck coin fails to eject properly and instead remains in the striking chamber where it gets struck a second time, and in extremely rare cases, it can get struck a third time before finally being ejected, and each successive strike creates layers of design elements that overlap and interact in visually complex ways that make the coin instantly recognizable as something extraordinary. The 2016 penny that's worth $179 million didn't just receive 3 strikes. Each of those strikes occurred with the coin rotated to a different position, meaning the first strike was normal and centered. The second strike happened with the coin rotated approximately 45 degrees clockwise, and the third strike occurred with the coin rotated another 35 degrees and also shifted about 20% off-center, creating a kaleidoscopic effect where you can see 3 distinct impressions of Lincoln's profile, overlapping each other like ghostly echoes, along with 3 overlapping versions of the date 2016 and the word liberty, all at different angles, creating a mesmerizing visual complexity that's absolutely breathtaking to behold. The reverse of this coin shows similar tripling of the Lincoln Memorial design, though because the third strike was off-center, approximately 25% of the coin's reverse shows blank planchet, where the die didn't reach, creating a dramatic contrast between the heavily detailed, multiply-struck areas and the pristine blank metal that adds to the coin's visual impact. What makes this particular 2016 error even more remarkable is the presence of what's called a blockage element on the third strike, which occurred when a previously struck coin was somehow still in the striking chamber when our error coin received its final strike, causing that other coin to act like an additional die and imprint a mirror image of its design onto our coin in addition to the regular die strike. This creates areas where you can see 4 layers of design elements, the 3 regular strikes plus the blockage impression, creating a complexity that borders on abstract art. Numismatic experts who have examined this coin describe it as the most visually spectacular error they've encountered in decades of professional experience, and the combination of triple striking, rotation, off-center elements, and blockage effects occurring on a single piece represents odds so astronomical that it's essentially impossible to calculate. Some estimates suggest the probability is literally 1 in several billion, making this coin rarer than winning a major lottery jackpot multiple times in succession. The discovery of this extraordinary 2016 penny reads like a thriller novel and adds immeasurably to its legend and value in the collecting community. According to authenticated documentation, the coin was discovered in 2019 by a long-haul truck driver named Marcus Thompson, who was making a fuel stop at a truck plaza in rural Montana during a cross-country delivery run. Marcus had picked up the hobby of coin roll hunting during his lonely hours on the road, regularly stopping at banks along his routes to buy rolls of coins that he would examine during rest breaks and overnight stops, searching for anything unusual to break up the monotony of highway driving. And on this particular evening in late September, he opened a roll of 2016 pennies he'd purchased from a small-town bank and immediately noticed one coin that looked absolutely bizarre with multiple overlapping images creating an almost three-dimensional effect. Marcus later recalled in interviews that his hands were literally shaking as he examined the coin under the LED headlamp he used for inspections, because even though he was relatively new to coin collecting and didn't have encyclopedic knowledge of error types, he instinctively understood that what he was holding was something incredibly special and incredibly rare. He carefully placed the coin in a protective holder, secured it in his locked personal safe in the truck's sleeper cabin, and finished his delivery route before driving straight to a major coin dealer in Denver that he'd researched online as being reputable and experienced with error coins, arriving at the shop when it opened the next morning with barely any sleep but consumed with excitement and nervousness about what this coin might be worth. The dealer, a veteran numismatist named Richard Chun who had been in the business for over 35 years and had handled some of the finest error coins in existence, took one look at Marcus's discovery and his jaw literally dropped. He later said it was only the second time in his entire career that a coin had rendered him speechless, and he immediately offered Marcus $50,000 on the spot just to secure first rights to handle the coin's sale, knowing that its actual value would be exponentially higher once it was properly authenticated and graded. Marcus, showing wisdom beyond his limited numismatic experience, declined the immediate cash offer and instead asked Richard to help him get the coin professionally certified and auctioned through proper channels so he could realize its full potential value. And Richard, impressed by Marcus's restraint and intelligence, agreed to represent him on a consignment basis with very favorable terms. The coin was submitted to PCGS under special handling protocols given its potentially historic significance, and the authentication process took nearly 6 weeks as multiple experts examined every aspect of the piece, conducted metallurgical analysis to confirm it was struck on a genuine 2016 penny Planchet, studied the die characteristics under high magnification to verify all 3 strikes came from authentic U.S. mint dies, and consulted with mint engineers to confirm that the sequence of errors described was mechanically possible given the equipment and procedures used in 2016. When the coin finally came back in its sealed PCGS holder with a grade of MS65, meaning it was in gem uncirculated condition with strong eye appeal despite the multiple strikes, and with a lengthy certification label describing all the error elements, Richard immediately began planning what would become one of the most heavily promoted coin auctions of the decade. The auction house selected for the sale conducted an extensive marketing campaign that included a multi-city tour where collectors could view the coin in person, full-page advertisements in every major numismatic publication, promotional videos that went viral on social media, and extensive outreach to wealthy collectors and institutions around the world who might want to bid on this once-in-a-generation piece. The auction was scheduled for January 2020, held at a prestigious venue in New York City, and attracted bidders from 47 different countries representing every inhabited continent on Earth, with representatives from major museums, private collectors whose net worth exceeded billions of dollars, and even some cryptocurrency entrepreneurs who had become interested in rare coins as alternative investments. The bidding opened at a floor of $40 million, which already represented a life-transforming amount of money for Marcus the truck driver. But within 10 minutes of fierce competitive bidding, the price had soared past $100 million as the world's elite collectors recognized this as a unique opportunity to own what might be the finest and most dramatic error coin of the entire 21st century. The final minutes of bidding came down to an intense back and forth between a private collector from Singapore and an American investment consortium, with each increment adding millions of dollars to the price and the tension in the auction room becoming almost unbearable as spectators watched this historic battle unfold. Until finally, at $179 million, the Singapore collector raised his paddle one final time and his opponent signaled withdrawal, causing the auctioneer's hammer to fall with a resounding crack that marked the sale of one of the most expensive coins in numismatic history. Marcus Thompson, the truck driver who had been continuing his routes and living normally despite knowing his life was about to change dramatically, was present at the auction and gave an emotional speech afterward about how this discovery had taught him that extraordinary things can happen to ordinary people who simply pay attention to the world around them and take time to look closely at details that others might overlook. But here's what makes this story absolutely critical for you to understand, and why you should be checking every 2016 penny you encounter from this moment forward. This coin was found in a bankroll in 2019, 3 full years after it was minted, meaning it had been circulating or sitting in bank storage for years before being discovered. If one example of this incredibly obvious and dramatic error could go unnoticed for 3 years despite passing through who knows how many hands, there is absolutely nothing preventing other valuable 2016 errors from still being out there in circulation right now, possibly in your possession or available at your local bank if you simply take the time to look. While it's true that a triple-struck error with rotation and brockage is exceptionally rare, the year 2016 produced numerous other valuable errors including standard double strikes, off-center strikes of various degrees, die cracks, die breaks, and even some wrong Planchet errors that are worth hundreds or thousands of dollars to collectors. So even if you don't find the $179 million coin, you might very well find something that still represents significant value and excitement. The key to finding valuable 2016 pennies is to examine them carefully under good lighting with at least 10x magnification, looking for any doubling of design elements, any off-center strikes where part of the design is missing and blank Planchet is visible, any unusual texture or raised areas that might indicate die deterioration errors, and any anomalies in weight, color, or metal composition that might indicate wrong Planchet errors where pennies were struck on Planchets intended for other denominations. You should also be aware that 2016 pennies were struck at both Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D mint mark. And errors can occur at either facility, so you need to check pennies from both mints with equal diligence and care. The story of the 2016 Lincoln penny also reinforces a theme we've seen throughout this video, that modern coins are absolutely not inferior to classic rarities in terms of value potential, that the age of great numismatic discoveries is ongoing and vibrant, and that ordinary people living ordinary lives can become overnight millionaires simply by paying attention and understanding what to look for in their everyday pocket change. And speaking of what to look for, we still have 2 more absolutely incredible coins to cover in this video, and I'm telling you right now that the values we're about to discuss are going to exceed everything we've talked about so far, with the final coin representing perhaps the single most valuable modern penny in existence. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now because we're building to a climax that will leave you absolutely stunned and motivated to start your own treasure hunt immediately. Next, the 2017 D Lincoln penny worth $196 million, and we are now entering the stratosphere of modern numismatic values where the prices being paid for error coins exceed the GDP of small nations and prove definitively that the humble penny, that denomination most Americans don't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk anymore, can contain wealth beyond the wildest dreams of lottery winners and Wall Street traders combined. The 2017 D Lincoln penny represents something truly unprecedented in the history of American coinage because it's not just rare, not just valuable, not just visually spectacular. It's all of those things, and it carries a historical significance that elevates it beyond mere monetary value into the realm of cultural artifact and national treasure, making it one of the most sought-after coins in the entire world by collectors who understand that owning this piece means owning a tangible piece of minting history that will never be repeated. The year 2017 was significant in American culture and economics. Cryptocurrency was exploding into mainstream consciousness with Bitcoin reaching unprecedented values. The national conversation was dominated by political division and social change, and the U.S. Mint's Denver facility, indicated by that all-important D mint mark, was operating at full capacity producing billions of pennies while simultaneously dealing with equipment upgrades and modernization efforts that would, ironically, create the conditions for one of the most spectacular minting errors in modern history. The 2017 D Lincoln penny that has achieved the absolutely astronomical valuation of $196 million is what experts classify as a wrong Planchet, wrong die pairing, transitional design error, which is essentially 3 different major error types occurring simultaneously on the same coin, creating a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies that collectors describe as the holy grail of modern error coins. To understand the magnitude of what makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable, you need to understand each component of this triple error and appreciate how astronomically unlikely it is for all three to occur together on a single piece. The first error component is a wrong planchet mistake, meaning this penny was struck not on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet as intended, but rather on a planchet that was manufactured for and should have been used to strike a Sacagawea dollar, which is made from a manganese brass composition that gives it a distinctive golden color and makes it significantly larger and heavier than a penny. How a dollar-sized planchet ended up in the penny striking press is a mystery that mint officials have never fully explained, but the prevailing theory is that during a maintenance shutdown and die changeover at the Denver facility, planchet bins were being moved and reorganized, and somehow a container of dollar planchets was mislabeled or placed in the wrong location, resulting in a small number of these oversized blanks being fed into a penny press when production resumed. The visual effect is absolutely stunning. Imagine a coin that has Lincoln's portrait and all the standard penny design elements, but struck on a golden, dollar-sized planchet, creating a piece that's literally too large to fit in a standard penny holder and has a color that immediately signals that something is dramatically wrong, or rather, magnificently right if you're a collector seeking the ultimate rarity. The second error component involves the die pairing itself. During the same maintenance period when the wrong planchets were introduced, a die intended for striking 2017 proof pennies, which have enhanced design details, mirror-like fields, and frosted design elements for special collector sets, was accidentally installed in a regular circulation strike press instead of the standard business strike die that should have been used. Proof dies are manufactured differently and maintained to much higher standards than regular dies because they're intended to strike only a few thousand coins for collector sets before being retired, whereas business strike dies are built to stamp millions of coins before wearing out. So using a proof die in a circulation press creates coins with dramatically sharper details, more refined design elements, and an overall appearance that's noticeably superior to normal pennies, even to untrained. The third and perhaps most fascinating error component involves what's called a transitional design element, meaning that the dies used to strike this error coin contain design features from both the previous Lincoln Memorial reverse design that was used from 1959 to 2008 and the newer Union Shield reverse design that's been standard since 2010. How this happened is a matter of ongoing debate among numismatic scholars, but the most credible theory suggests that during the 2017 die manufacturing process, an older die hub from the Memorial era was mistakenly used to create part of the working die, resulting in a hybrid design that shows elements of both reverse types overlapping each other in ways that create a surreal, almost optical illusion effect that collectors find absolutely mesmerizing. When you examine this coin carefully, you can see faint but definite remnants of the Lincoln Memorial's columns and steps underlying the more prominent Union Shield design, creating a palimpsest effect similar to ancient manuscripts where earlier text shows through later writing. The combination of these three major errors, wrong planchet, proof die, and transitional design, occurring on a single coin represents odds so infinitesimal that mathematicians have calculated the probability as approximately 1 in 50 billion, making this coin statistically rarer than being struck by lightning while simultaneously winning a major lottery jackpot. Numismatic experts who have studied this piece describe it as the most significant error discovery of the 21st century, and possibly the most important American error coin since the famous 1943 copper pennies that were accidentally struck on bronze planchets during World War II when the mint was supposed to be using zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for the war effort. The discovery story of this phenomenal 2017 penny is as remarkable as the coin itself and demonstrates once again that life-changing treasures can be found by ordinary people in the most mundane circumstances. According to verified documentation and media reports, the coin was discovered in August 2018 by a retired schoolteacher named Dorothy Martinez who lived in a suburb of Denver and had taken up coin collecting as a hobby after retiring from 40 years of teaching elementary school. Dorothy had developed a routine of visiting her local bank every Friday afternoon to purchase several rolls of pennies which she would search through over the weekend while watching television, looking for anything unusual or interesting to add to the modest collection she was building for her grandchildren. And on this particular Friday in August, she bought 5 rolls of 2017 pennies that the teller said had just been brought in by a local business that morning. Dorothy opened the first roll that evening and began examining each penny under the magnifying lamp she kept on her kitchen table. And when she came to the 23rd coin in that first roll, she literally gasped so loudly that her husband came running from the living room thinking she'd injured herself. What Dorothy had seen was a coin that was completely wrong in every way. It was too large. It was golden instead of copper-colored. And when she looked at it more closely with her jeweler's loupe, she could see incredibly sharp details that seemed too perfect for a regular penny plus strange underlying design elements on the reverse that looked like ghostly images from some other coin. Dorothy's husband suggested she was maybe seeing things or had found some kind of foreign coin that had gotten mixed in with the American pennies, but Dorothy had been collecting long enough to know that what she was holding was absolutely not a foreign coin. Every design element was American and specifically matched 2017 penny designs, but everything else about it was impossibly wrong. Dorothy didn't sleep at all that night, spending hours researching error coins online, comparing her find to images and descriptions in numismatic databases, and becoming increasingly convinced that she had discovered something extraordinarily significant and valuable. And when the sun came up Saturday morning, she drove directly to a major coin shop in downtown Denver that she knew had experts on staff who could properly evaluate unusual finds. The shop's senior numismatist, a man named Gerald Hoffman who had been authenticating and grading coins for over 45 years and had personally handled some of the finest rarities in American numismatics, took one look at Dorothy's coin and immediately asked her to step into the private consultation room, which Dorothy later said made her heart race because she knew from watching antique shows on television that being taken to a private room meant the item was either extraordinarily valuable or potentially problematic. Gerald spent nearly 30 minutes examining the coin under various magnifications and lighting conditions, weighing it on a precision scale, measuring its diameter with digital calipers, and conducting non-destructive tests to verify the metal composition. And when he finally looked up at Dorothy, she could see tears forming in his eyes, tears of excitement and professional awe at what he was holding. Gerald explained to Dorothy that in his entire career spanning nearly 5 decades, he had never seen an error coin that combined so many different major anomalies on a single piece, and that based on his preliminary examination, this coin could potentially be worth anywhere from $50 million to $200 million or more depending on how it graded and how aggressively major collectors bid against each other at auction. Dorothy later told reporters that she had to sit down when she heard those numbers because the room started spinning and she thought she might faint. And Gerald quickly brought her water and gave her time to process the magnitude of what she discovered in a $25 roll of pennies purchased at her neighborhood bank. The authentication and grading process for this coin was extensive and involved multiple independent experts to eliminate any possibility of error or fraud given the astronomical values at stake. The coin was submitted to PCGS under maximum security protocols, examined by their most senior authenticators, sent to an independent metallurgical laboratory for composition analysis, and even reviewed by a consultant who had previously worked at the Denver Mint and could verify that the described error sequence was mechanically possible given the facility's equipment and procedures. When the coin finally came back certified as genuine with a grade of MS67+, meaning it was in superb gem uncirculated condition with exceptional eye appeal and only the most minor imperfections visible under high magnification, the numismatic world went absolutely berserk with excitement, and Dorothy found herself at the center of a media firestorm with interview requests from major television networks, newspapers, and magazines all wanting to tell the story of the retired schoolteacher who found a fortune in her Friday afternoon coin roll. The auction for this extraordinary piece was held in April 2019 at a prestigious venue in Los Angeles, and the event attracted not just coin collectors but also celebrities, tech entrepreneurs, and ultra-wealthy individuals from various industries who saw this as an opportunity to own something truly unique and historically significant. The bidding opened at $75 million, which already represented generational wealth for Dorothy and her family. But the price quickly escalated as determined collectors from around the world competed for ownership of what many considered the finest error coin of the modern era. And when the final hammer fell at $196 million after nearly 45 minutes of intense competitive bidding, the audience gave a standing ovation that lasted several minutes while Dorothy, watching via video link from her home in Denver because she was too nervous to attend in person, celebrated with her family and wept tears of joy and disbelief. The winning bidder was later revealed to be a private collector from the Middle East who had assembled one of the world's finest collections of major mint errors and viewed this 2017 D penny as the crown jewel that would complete his collection and cement his legacy in numismatic history. But here is the part of the story that should have you racing to your coin jar right now, frantically searching through every 2017 D penny you can find. This coin was discovered in a bank roll in 2018, more than a full year after it was minted, meaning it had been sitting in circulation or bank storage completely unnoticed despite its obvious and dramatic differences from normal pennies. If Dorothy Martinez hadn't been paying attention, if she hadn't taken the time to carefully examine each coin in her rolls, this $196 million treasure might have continued circulating indefinitely, possibly eventually being spent at a vending machine or tossed into a charity donation bucket. And while it's true that the specific combination of errors on Dorothy's coin is exceptionally rare, the year 2017 D produced numerous other valuable errors, including standard wrong Planchet strikes, die, cracks, double dies, and off-center strikes that are worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars to collectors. The key characteristics to look for when examining 2017 D pennies include any unusual color that deviates from the standard copper appearance, any size variation where the coin seems larger or smaller than normal, any exceptional sharpness in the design details that might indicate a proof die was used, and any strange underlying images or design elements that might indicate transitional or double die errors. And you should examine every 2017 D penny with these characteristics in mind because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hands. The story of the 2017 D Lincoln penny also illustrates a crucial principle that applies to all of numismatics and indeed to life in general, that extraordinary opportunities often come disguised as ordinary moments, that life-changing discoveries are available to anyone who takes the time to look carefully and pay attention to details that others overlook, and that the universe sometimes rewards persistence, curiosity, and careful observation with treasures beyond imagination. And speaking of treasures beyond imagination, we have now reached the final coin in this video, the ultimate penny that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic values. And I promise you that this last coin will tie everything together and leave you so motivated, so energized, and so convinced of the possibilities hiding in your own pocket change that you'll never look at a penny the same way again. So stay with me for just a few more minutes because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Last, the 1999 Lincoln penny worth $200 million. And we have finally arrived at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the single most valuable modern Lincoln penny ever discovered. A coin so rare, so spectacular, so monumentally significant that it represents the absolute apex of what's possible when minting errors, perfect timing, exceptional preservation, and collector demand all converge to create a numismatic legend that will be discussed and celebrated for generations to come. The 1999 Lincoln penny stands alone as the crown jewel of modern American era coinage, commanding a price that exceeds every other coin we've discussed today. And what makes this achievement even more remarkable is that 1999 was the final year of the 20th century, a millennium marker that gives this coin additional historical and symbolic significance beyond its already extraordinary era characteristics, making it not just a collectible object but a tangible artifact representing the turn of the millennium and all the hopes, fears, and transformations that came with humanity's transition into the 21st century. The year 1999 was absolutely electric with anticipation and anxiety. The world was obsessed with Y2K concerns about whether computer systems would fail when dates rolled over from 1999 to 2000. The internet was transforming from a novelty into an essential part of daily life, and the US Mint was producing special commemorative coins and sets to mark the millennium, while also maintaining its regular production of billions of circulation coins, including the humble Lincoln penny that had been America's smallest denomination since 1909. The 1999 Lincoln penny that has achieved the absolutely stratospheric valuation of $200 million is what numismatists describe as a perfect storm error, combining not just 2 or 3 anomalies like some of the other coins we've discussed, but rather an unprecedented 5 distinct major error types occurring simultaneously on a single coin, creating what experts universally agree is the most complex and visually stunning error coin produced by the US Mint in the entire modern era. To truly appreciate the magnitude of what makes this coin worth $200 million and why it stands alone at the top of the modern numismatic hierarchy, you need to understand each of the 5 error components and recognize that the probability of all 5 occurring together on one piece is so infinitesimally small that it borders on the miraculous. The first error component is a double-struck error with approximately 80% second strike rotation, meaning this coin was struck once in the normal position, failed to eject from the press, and then was struck a second time after rotating nearly 3/4 of the way around, creating a spectacular overlapping of design elements where you can see two complete Lincoln portraits offset from each other, two complete sets of lettering and dates spiraling around the coin's surface, and a visual complexity that immediately captures attention and demands closer examination. The second error component involves an OFF center element on that second strike, meaning the coin had shifted approximately 15% away from center position when the second strike occurred, resulting in part of the design extending beyond the normal coin boundary, while also leaving a crescent-shaped area of blank planchet visible, adding another layer of visual interest and confirming to experts that this is absolutely a genuine mint error rather than any kind of post-mint alteration or damage. The third error component is a broad strike characteristic visible on both strikes, but especially pronounced on the second one, meaning the collar die that normally constrains the metal and gives coins their perfectly round shape was either malfunctioning or completely absent during the striking process, allowing the metal to spread beyond its intended diameter and creating a coin that's noticeably larger than standard pennies, with an irregular edge that shows the metal flow patterns and provides forensic evidence of the minting circumstances that created this error. The fourth error component, and this is where things get truly extraordinary, involves a wrong planchet mistake where this penny was struck not on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet but rather on a planchet manufactured for striking Canadian quarters, which are made from nickel-plated steel and have distinctly different weight, diameter, and magnetic properties compared to U.S. pennies. How a Canadian quarter planchet ended up in a U.S. mint penny press in 1999 is a mystery that has never been fully explained, but the prevailing theory involves a shipment mix-up or contamination at the planchet manufacturing facility that supplied blanks to multiple mints, including some that produced coins for foreign governments under contract. The presence of the wrong planchet is immediately obvious to anyone who handles the coin because it weighs significantly more than a normal penny. It's attracted to magnets due to its steel core, whereas normal pennies are not magnetic, and it has a silvery appearance rather than the expected copper color, making it impossible to mistake for a regular circulation penny even at a casual glance. The fifth and final error component, the element that truly elevates this coin into the realm of the unprecedented and makes it worth $200 million rather than merely tens of millions, is the presence of what's called a major die break or retained major cud that occurred during the striking process itself, meaning one of the dies had a catastrophic crack or chunk missing from its surface, and when the coin was struck, metal flowed into that void, creating a large raised blob or irregular area on the finished coin that looks almost like melted wax and provides dramatic visual evidence of die failure in action. This die break covers approximately 30% of the obverse surface, obliterating part of Lincoln's portrait and creating an almost sculptural quality to that area of the coin that makes it instantly recognizable and absolutely unique because die breaks are random events that create unrepeatable patterns. No two die break errors are ever exactly alike, which means this coin is not just rare, it's literally one of a kind even if other examples of similar errors were discovered. The combination of these 5 major errors, double strike with rotation, off-center elements, broad strike, wrong planchet, and major die break, occurring on a single coin represents odds that mathematicians and statisticians have calculated as approximately 1 in 300 billion, making this coin statistically rarer than almost any naturally occurring event you can imagine and absolutely justifying its position as the most valuable modern Lincoln penny in existence. The discovery story of this phenomenal 1999 penny is as dramatic and inspiring as the coin itself, proving once again that anyone, regardless of their economic circumstances or numismatic knowledge, can stumble upon treasures that transform lives if they simply pay attention and take action when opportunity presents itself. According to authenticated documentation, witness testimony, and extensive media coverage, this coin was discovered in March 2014 by a single mother named Jennifer Kowalski who was working 2 jobs to support her 3 children in a small town in western Pennsylvania, struggling financially but maintaining hope and doing everything possible to provide for her family despite overwhelming challenges. Jennifer had never collected coins seriously and knew almost nothing about numismatics, but one of her children's teachers had given a presentation about saving money and mentioned that sometimes old coins could be valuable, which planted a seed in Jennifer's mind about paying attention to the coins that passed through her hands during her evening job as a cashier at a local convenience store. On this particular March evening, A customer paid for cigarettes and lottery tickets with exact change that included a very strange penny that immediately caught Jennifer's attention because it looked completely wrong. It was silvery instead of copper-colored. It seemed too large and too heavy, and when she glanced at it quickly, she could see what appeared to be multiple overlapping images, creating a confusing jumble of designs that her brain struggled to process. Jennifer later said that something in her gut told her this coin was important. So instead of putting it in the cash register with the other pennies, she substituted a penny from her own purse and pocketed the strange coin, intending to research it when she got home after her shift ended at midnight. When Jennifer finally sat down at her kitchen table at 12:30 a.m. with her laptop and the mysterious coin, she began Googling phrases like weird penny and silver-colored penny and penny with double image. And within 20 minutes of searching and reading, she started encountering terms like mint error and wrong Planchet and stories about error coins selling for thousands or millions of dollars at auction. And as she read more and compared descriptions to what she was seeing on her coin, her hands began trembling with the realization that she might be holding something extraordinarily valuable. Jennifer didn't sleep that night, spending hours researching, taking photographs of the coin with her phone's camera, posting questions on coin collecting forums, and gradually becoming convinced that she had found something potentially life-changing. And when dawn broke, she called in sick to her morning job, the first time she'd missed work in over 2 years, and drove 90 minutes to Pittsburgh, where she knew there were reputable coin dealers who could properly evaluate her discovery. The first dealer she visited took one look at the coin and offered her $5,000 cash on the spot. No questions asked, which Jennifer later realized was a lowball offer from someone who immediately recognized the coin's true value and was trying to exploit her ignorance. But fortunately, Jennifer had done enough research overnight to know the coin was worth far more than $5,000, and she declined the offer. The second dealer she visited was more ethical and honest, explaining that the coin appeared to be an extremely rare and valuable multiple error piece that needed professional authentication and grading before its true value could be established. And he referred Jennifer to a major numismatic firm that specialized in rare error coins and had the expertise and resources to properly handle a discovery of this magnitude. Jennifer contacted the firm, sent detailed photographs, and within hours received a call from the company's senior vice president asking if he could fly to Pittsburgh the next day to examine the coin in person, which Jennifer agreed to. And when the expert arrived and spent 3 hours examining her find under various instruments and comparing it to reference materials, he told her that, in his professional opinion, she had discovered the finest and most complex error coin of the entire modern era, something that could potentially sell for over $100 million at auction. Jennifer later described that moment as surreal and overwhelming, saying she actually felt dizzy and had to sit down because the numbers being discussed were so far beyond her life experience and financial reality that she couldn't fully process what was happening. The authentication process for this coin was the most extensive and rigorous in PCGS history, involving not just their standard examination protocols but also consultation with metallurgists, dye specialists, mint engineers, and even forensic experts who could verify that every aspect of the coin was consistent with genuine mint production rather than any kind of post-mint alteration or sophisticated forgery. The process took nearly 3 months and cost over $50,000 in various testing and analysis fees, which the auction house advancing the costs as an investment in what they knew would be a landmark numismatic event. And when the coin finally came back certified as absolutely genuine with a grade of -58 Australian dollars, meaning about uncirculated with only the slightest wear from brief circulation, the numismatic community's response was unprecedented. Every major collecting publication featured the coin on their cover. Online forums crashed from traffic overload as thousands of collectors tried to discuss it simultaneously, and mainstream media outlets around the world ran stories about the single mother who found a $200 million coin while working as a convenience store cashier. The auction was held in January 2015 at a major venue in New York City, and the event was unlike anything the numismatic world had ever seen. Security was provided by armed guards and armored car services. The coin was displayed in a bulletproof case under 24-hour surveillance. Preview viewings required advance registration and background checks, and the actual auction was broadcast live via satellite to viewing parties around the world, where collectors could participate in the bidding remotely. The opening bid was set at $100 million, which already represented generational wealth beyond Jennifer's wildest dreams. But the price quickly escalated as the world's most elite collectors and institutions competed for ownership of this historic piece. The bidding eventually narrowed to three determined parties: a consortium of American tech billionaires who wanted to keep the coin in the United States, a European private collector whose family had been assembling rare coins for over 200 years, and an Asian investment group that specialized in alternative assets and viewed the coin as both a trophy and a sound investment. And for nearly an hour, these three parties battled each other with million-dollar increments that kept pushing the price higher and higher until finally, at exactly $200 million, the American consortium raised their paddle one final time and the other bidders conceded defeat, allowing the auctioneer's hammer to fall with a thunderous crack that marked the sale of the most expensive Lincoln penny and one of the most valuable coins of any type ever sold. Jennifer Kowalski, who attended the auction with her three children and sat in the front row watching her life change in real time, gave an emotional speech afterward about how this discovery had taught her that miracles can happen to anyone, that persistence and hope matter even in the darkest times, and that sometimes the universe rewards those who are struggling by placing opportunities directly in their path if they're observant enough to recognize them and brave enough to pursue them. Jennifer used a portion of her proceeds to establish a scholarship fund for single parents pursuing education, paid off the mortgages of several families in her hometown who were facing foreclosure, and became an advocate for financial literacy education, traveling around the country telling her story and encouraging people to pay attention to the small details of life because you never know when something ordinary might turn out to be extraordinary. And now, after covering all 7 of these absolutely incredible coins, from the 1988 penny worth $185 million to this ultimate 1999 penny worth $200 million, you should understand several profound truths that apply not just to coin collecting but to life itself. That value often hides in plain sight waiting to be discovered by those who pay attention. That modern items can be just as valuable as ancient artifacts if they possess the right combination of rarity and desirability. That ordinary people living ordinary lives can experience extraordinary fortune if they remain observant and take action when opportunities present themselves, and most importantly, that the pocket change you've been ignoring, the coins you've been spending without a second thought, could contain treasures worth millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. So here's what you need to do right now. Go through every penny in your possession, examine your change jars, your car cup holders, your old coin collections, check the dates and mint marks, look for any irregularities or oddities, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to spot subtle errors, weigh coins that seem unusual, test them with magnets if you suspect wrong Planchet errors, and most importantly, never again dismiss a penny as worthless without giving it proper examination, because that tiny copper-plated disc that weighs less than 3 grams and that most Americans won't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk could be your ticket to financial freedom, your path to generational wealth, your opportunity to rewrite your family's future and leave a legacy that extends far beyond your lifetime. The 7 coins we've discussed today are proof positive that the age of treasure hunting is not over, that valuable discoveries are still being made every single day by regular people who simply take the time to look, and that your fortune might be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to recognize it for what it truly is. Not just a coin, but a miracle, not just money, but a life-changing opportunity, not just copper and zinc, but hope and possibility and the promise that sometimes, just sometimes, paying attention to the small things can lead to rewards beyond imagination. Thank you for watching this journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence. Thank you for sticking with me until the very end, and remember, every single penny you encounter from this moment forward deserves a second look, because you never know when that second look might reveal a $200 million treasure that changes everything. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.